Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Fields. Today, I wanted to put out an inspirational video. I like to do that from time to time because I feel like there are so many different obstacles mentally to really getting going on a weight loss plan. And when we think of obstacles, of course, motivational issues come to mind. And motivational issues are very, very prevalent in those of us who have struggled for a long time to successfully lose the weight and, more importantly, be able to keep it off. So when I look at motivational issues, there are really two types. The first type I call leap of faith motivation. And the second type I call momentum motivation. With the latter, with momentum motivation, people often do not struggle nearly as much as with the first one, okay? So momentum motivation is when you've started to actually be successful on a weight loss plan and you're getting results and you're looking at the numbers drop each week on the scale and you're gaining momentum. The positive results are like this external reinforcer that is so powerful because it says, hey, you're doing this. It's working. And it just leads to more and more confidence. And it can really create this positive feedback loop. And what I mean by that is you lose some weight, you get more confident, you feel even more committed to your goals and discipline during the week, you lose more weight, you get more committed to your goals, more confident, and it just keeps going and going and going. Certainly, there are things that can throw us off course. As I've mentioned before, which is no surprise, life can throw us all sorts of unexpected crap from time to time that can derail us, right? But certainly, it is much easier to stay motivated in general when we have already experienced a good amount of success and when we keep experiencing that success time and time again. So when we're looking at motivation, then what is really the most problematic? And the most problematic is that leap of faith motivation. Before we start out on this weight loss journey, we have to take a little bit of a leap of faith. We have to have some kind of hope that this really stands a good shot of working this time. Because we have so much evidence that we are going to struggle with any weight loss plan because of our past experiences. This really becomes such a hindrance to getting started once again. We look at the past and we say, my gosh, there's this mountain of evidence that this is not going to work. I mean, how many times in psychology do we use that old adage, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior? So if that's true, then what kind of shot do we really have with being successful this time around, having failed so many times in the past? Well, that's a general adage, and it is generally true. However, we don't have to be automatons that just kind of, become another statistic, so to speak. and, become another kind of failed weight loss story, we can recreate ourselves. We can really make this time different. But we have to have a bit of a leap of faith. And how do you do that? How do you get that kind of, not even confidence, not even, because you can't really have confidence until you're successful, right? So we're not confident at this point at all. We're hopeful. If this stage of motivation is going to pan out for us, then we have to at least be hopeful to have that leap of faith. How do you have hope when you failed so many times before? When you have all this evidence to show you that you're not good at this, you are not good at losing weight. It's really difficult. But one thing I can say for sure is, while past behavior may be a good predictor of future behavior, it's not 100% accurate. It's a good predictor. It doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. A good predictor is one that says tends to be the case. Well, yeah, it tends to be the case, and it certainly will tend to be the case if nothing changes. And everything that I've been discussing up until this point has been about changing your mental outlook. And so, to answer the question, why be hopeful now? Well, because hopefully your mental outlook is starting to change. Now, hopefully, you're realizing the real reasons why you've struggled so much in the past with losing weight. What is really critical at this point to tell yourself, in order to make that first step and start out on a new, potentially successful weight loss journey, is to say, wouldn't it be a shame if these assumptions that I have were downright false or exaggerated? I tell my patients in my private practice this all the time. If you have assumptions, and these assumptions are preventing you from taking a leap of faith and changing your behavior, don't you want to at least check in and see if they're true? Like, wouldn't that be such a shame to have these assumptions that you're not going to be successful? You don't have what it takes to lose the weight. You're not going to be able to see it through to the ultimate goal that you have in your mind, that magic number, whatever that is. You have bad luck. You have bad genes. It's not the right time to do it. You're just not that type of person that is going to ever be successful at this weight loss game. What if those assumptions were false or exaggerated? In the case of, this is just going to be so hard. It's too difficult now with what's going on in my life. This is just way too difficult for someone like me to be successful at. Wouldn't that be a shame? Wouldn't you want to check in with those assumptions just to make sure? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You go down that path and you fail, and then you say, I was right. Or you go down that path and you realize it is too hard. Or you go down that path and you realize that this isn't the right time. That's the worst that can happen, right? Now, some of you may say, I don't know if I can, take another failure. That's the worst that can happen. It will just totally kill my spirits. It'll be such a demoralizing experience. Well, are you that happy now? That's what you have to ask yourself. Are you that happy now? And how do you check in with that assumption? That if I go down this path and I fail, I'll be devastated. Will you? Wouldn't you at least want to check in with that assumption too while you're at it? And maybe you do fail again, but maybe something happens that you didn't even consider. And that is the next failure is the last failure. And you learn something along that journey so that the time after that is the one that does it. You may be so close to being successful. It could literally be the next time you try, or the next time after that, or the next time after that. But you might be like right there. Like the mental training that you've been trying to do might really be paying off, might really be yielding dividends at this point. You know what I often think about? I often think about why it takes such dramatic experiences in our lives to motivate ourselves. I'll give you a really common one. You have some kind of near-death experience, or you get a medical diagnosis that really makes you feel mortal. The kind of medical diagnosis that, there was a good probability that you might not make it out alive, that you might not be able to survive. And then you get through it, get to the other side, the treatment works, you're healthy again, phew, you dodged that bullet. And during that time, you say the inevitable. My gosh, if I can just make it through this, if I can survive this, then I'm going to start making changes in my life. I've seen the light, and this has really taught me a lesson. It's never been clearer than it is right now. Many times, these experiences don't even have to happen to us. They could be happening to a close friend or a loved one or a partner. And that's enough for us to say, oh man, I'm telling you, that's it. This really shook me up. I'm going to make some changes in my life now. That is it. I can see clearly. It's never been more real to me. It's never been more apparent to me of why I need to make changes. Thank you. Thank you. Universe, God, whoever, luck, thank you for getting me out of this. I will make sure to show my appreciation and gratitude by changing my life. We have like one of those Christmas Carol kind of experiences, right? Why do we need to be Ebenezer Scrooge and go through that kind of experience to finally make the changes that we've always needed to make, or that we always should have made? Why can't we just do that now? Why can't we just wake up one morning and say to ourselves, wow, I see the light. It's never become more clear to me. Why do we always need those heart-wrenching experiences to have that leap of faith motivation to get started? So a lot of people on the internet that say, motivation always comes after the behavior. You just do it, right? Like Nike slogan, just do it. Just do it, and then you start becoming motivated. Well, yeah, if we're talking about momentum motivation, of course, it always comes after the behavior. But guess what? You need some kind of motivation to start doing the behavior. That motivation is not as strong. You don't feel so confident. You feel doubtful, but you need it. You need that leap of faith to get started. How are you going to get that faith? The answer that I'm proposing is that there be a mental shift, and that this mental shift can happen without having to go through a life-threatening experience or having to witness someone else close to us going through a life-threatening experience. That this can happen without that. Many of us operate as if we were half asleep, especially when we're talking about being in these compulsive behavior patterns of addiction, different types of dependencies, compulsions, you name it. And food dependency is no different. We act as if we're an automaton, and we act as if we're half asleep. We don't see the big picture. We just live for the moment. Get me through this hour. Get me through this day. Get me through this week. You know, get me to the next carrot. That's an hour from now, a day away from now, a week away from now, without seeing the big picture and saying, I want to get off this hamster wheel. I want to start taking control of my life. I don't want to be half asleep. I want to be awake. I want to be awake. I don't want to be conscious, fully conscious of what I'm doing, what my goals are, what my purpose is, and really trying to make some real substantive changes in my life and make some real progress. I want to live. I want to feel alive. I don't want to feel like an automaton anymore. I don't want to be half asleep. You don't need a life-threatening experience to wake you up. You just need a mental shift. We only have a limited amount of time on this earth, and we don't really know how long that is. So maybe this video is the wake-up call. And I know it sounds a little bit of gloom and doom, but it's gloom and doom if you keep doing what you're doing. It's gloom and doom if you keep these assumptions without checking in on them. It's gloom and doom if nothing else ever changes. I want you to make that mental shift. I want you to shift your mindset to start thinking about how precious your life is, and is this really the way you want to live it? And if the answer is yes, there is no judgment here. And I don't say that sarcastically. Anybody that has ever worked with me knows my standpoint, and that is, whatever you're doing, I don't care what anyone else says. If you're happy with it, then that's all that matters. But if you are not happy with the way that you're behaving, but you're worried that it's going to be too risky to try a new weight loss plan and fail again, if those fears are holding you back, that's something that needs to be challenged. Because chances are you're going to be successful the next time, or in the very near future, as long as you keep changing your perspective. In fact, if you change your perspective to one that says, I'm hopeful, not like I know I can do this, or I feel I can definitely do this time. Listen, I get it. You don't feel that way. That's okay. You don't feel that way right now. Sure, when you start making progress and everything else, then you can feel that way. But I get it. You don't feel that way right now. But can you at least feel somewhat hopeful? Just a little bit hopeful. Hopeful enough to start your next and last weight loss journey. Making that mental shift that, if I was on my deathbed, would I be happy the way I lived my life, or would I have regrets? That's the way that I want you to think. Change is absolutely possible. You just have to have hope. I almost said you just have to believe it. You don't even have to believe it so much, right? Because believing in it sounds like you're really made up your mind. I don't even want you to believe in it at this point because I know that's too hard, but just have hope. Just say, I don't know. I really don't, but I hope I could do it. And I certainly don't know that I'll fail. And I certainly don't know that I'll be unsuccessful. I don't know that. Yes, I found a bunch in the past. And if I don't change anything, then sure, there's a good likelihood I'll fail again. But Dr. Fields is telling me, if I start changing my mental outlook, if I start really looking at what's going on internally with myself and start making some changes and shifting my perspective, then there's a good chance I will not be doomed to repeat the past. Take the leap of faith. This is Dr. Fields. I'll talk to you soon.